Welcome back to CS150 Personal Productivity Using Technology with Dr. X. So we will continue our journey exploring formulas and functions using the Excel Chapter 2 from your book Exploring Series Microsoft Office 2013. And so far we looked at some really cool different types of references for our Excel cells. We also looked at error checking. We've also looked at how to insert simple functions and simple statistical functions. And now things are getting serious. So at this point in today's example, we're going to learn how to use date functions. And we're going to just use a very simple date function, but we'll have a class for more advanced functions, a video for more advanced functions. We will also take a taste of the lookup functions of Excel. And lookup functions are what I call mechanical eyes. So they are Excel's way of looking up things for us and doing the work for us, finding something for us inside a set of data. And we will also learn about names and how to name different cells in our spreadsheet, like baptizing ourselves or something like that. Okay, so lots of things to learn, so we gotta move on. Remember that we were fooling around with basic functions last time, and now we're gonna go as always to Blackboard, course documents, Excel, and download from the documents used in Excel Labs. I already have this here, the VLOOKUP example. And this example is a very rich type of example. It's a very nice way for us to revise and remember things that we've learned about basic spreadsheets in chapter 1. And of course, it will be used to teach us VLOOKUP functions, lookup functions, and naming our cells. Okay, so the first worksheet that you see in your VLOOKUP example is a very nice invoice. Some of you may have already had experience from working in retail or working as in a restaurant or something. So invoices are really good ways for businesses to buy different products. So a restaurant could be buying food and fill in an invoice. The Best Buy, for example, could be buying washing machines, dishwashers, refrigerators, etc. That invoice is really nice looking. That we could print this one. Actually, look at the print preview file. Print. And it looks like a nice form. It's perfect. I mean, it very much looks like a Word document, but it's really an Excel spreadsheet that is doing very sophisticated calculations. So remember when I was talking to you about tables and that you can do some basic calculations with Word? Well, here you can do some amazing calculations with Excel. So here are some calculations that you can do with your invoice. Okay, you can use complicated functions, which we haven't learned yet, to calculate based on the item code the description and price and anything that you need for your specific product by just entering the item code. So a person, let's say a big company, General Electric, that is selling washing machines, dishwashers, and all of these TVs and all that, they have a product database with item codes, and they program their invoices for their customers. As soon as the customer enters an item code, the description immediately appears. So I could do that here actually, and I see that I have. So from the product database, let's say I enter the refrigerator code here, and immediately I will get the description, the quantity, unit price, and line total. So this one is a very nice invoice, very nice looking invoice that I'm going to show you immediately how to do one of these invoices yourselves, so that you don't think that, it's, so that we demystify this very nice invoice that looks like a Word document, but it's actually a very smart Excel spreadsheet. So here we are, and we're gonna call this Dr. X's invoice. Here we are. We're going to, in a way, reverse engineer the invoice that we've got over here, the nice looking invoice that we've got over here. And how are we going to do this in our first worksheet? Well, first things first, this invoice looks really cool because it doesn't have all the silly cells that make our spreadsheets look like spreadsheets and not like Word documents. So to hide these, we can go to page layout and just avoid looking at them. You can keep them until the end, until you complete your invoice. So then I'm gonna make my Dr. X widgets and make this a little larger, or I could even merge two cells, merge and center across these cells, merge those two cells, Dr. X widgets, and center nicely, and bold, and increase the size, and then increase my columns and center a little bit better, nicely. And as you can see, the center toggle bar is selected, so I have nicely centered the title for my invoice. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna copy a couple of things like the date and invoice, because I want to save some time. So here I'm gonna copy these, and I'm not gonna do this like fast, but I'm just gonna use nicely the formatting. Let's see, gonna use the formatting, formulas and number formatting, paste, no borders, keep source column widths, very nice, that's what I want to do. Keep source and column widths, that's what I want to do. And then make these a little higher, larger, and that's one part. So I'm just gonna copy paste the text. So I'm just gonna copy paste the text and the text. Alright, and increase the size, increase the columns. Very cool. So now that I've got my nice copy paste features and I copied and pasted all I needed, let's see how we can make this prettier. Like, for example, I am going to get rid of, at this point, I'm going to get rid of the grid lines, and then I am going to create a really nice, let's say I want to have up to 10 orders, so I'm going to do this, home, borders. Let's make some borders, more borders. Now I want to create some borders. Come on, Excel, do what I want. More borders, gray, this, that, or even thinner. There we go. Now I've got my nice gray borders. Finally, and I do not need this column, so I'm going to select it and delete it. Shift to the left, increase my unit price, and now it almost looks perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna have a subtotal and taxes and then total, and then I can use the bucket, make this purple and make this purple and this purple, and that's it. I can make this bold, and of course I can choose these numbers to be dollar, accounting, and the taxes to be a percentage or another different calculation. So now, I mean, this almost looks as perfect as the invoice that we've got. The only thing we're missing is, well, it doesn't look as perfect, but it's close enough. So let's say here, I just want to have a bottom border, and then here I just want to have more borders, gray, a little lighter, blah 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 blah. And here we are. So now you created your own invoice. I'm sure you can make an even nicer looking type of invoice, but I'm not very artistic, as I have said before. So now let's go to the date. And right next to the date, I want to have a function that always updates today's date for my actual date. So how can I do that? Well, of course, I'm going to go to formulas. And like we've said, functions are just templates of Excel to calculate different formulas. And I'm going to go to the date and time functions. Although I could even go to the insert function and type today. And here is a nice formula that gives me today's date. And as you can see, this is one of the nicest functions because it doesn't take any arguments, so it's always going to be able to calculate today's date. Let's say that I want Calibri and then make it a little larger, and that's about it. So this is just perfect. Okay, and let's say I don't like where Dr. X placed that, so I'm gonna put this here and it looks quite better. So now I have my first date function, and I would strongly encourage you to play around with different date and time functions, and we're going to do more examples. There's a wealth of date and time functions that can update dates, calculate weekdays. You can use these to calculate salaries or calculate how many weekdays until you receive a product from Amazon, how many weeks, and all these different things. And at this point, we are ready to start thinking how we are going to make this very nice invoice smarter and just be able to enter an item code on column A and then immediately get a description of the product and the unit price. So these two parts of the data are in our product database. Let's look a little bit at our product database. Let me make it a little larger. So our product database has item codes, and the codes correspond to a specific item, a description of an item. And oops, I cannot see that. That is so weird. What's happening? Well, you'll see these pound signs several times. This means that the data doesn't fit in my column because I made it bigger and the numbers increased, the size of the numbers increased. So now I can see a little better my numbers. So here we go, we have the price and description in our product database. So the only thing I've got to do is get an item code, let's say copy this item code, paste it here, and then copy paste the description and the unit price. Okay, but imagine if you have 10 or 100 products purchased. Imagine if you have a very large database. After all, you are General Electric, so you are producing many electrical appliances, and you just want Excel to do the job for you. So you just want to paste an item code here and get a description and a unit price immediately, automatically in your spreadsheet. And here's how we're gonna do this. Deleting that, we are going to use Excel's mechanical eyes, or in a less science fiction type of terminology, the lookup functions of Excel. The lookup functions are going to look up for the codes in the product database and give us the description and the price of the product that Dr. X has purchased for General Electric to make her store Dr. X's Best Buy. So the type of lookup that we're doing is we're looking vertically on a column and we're looking for a specific product code, let's say R99245, and then we correspond this to the product description and the product price. So that's what this function is going to do here. So the first function is going to give us the description, the second function is going to give us the item code. And with all this very nice introduction, let's go and insert a function. We could always use the lookup and reference menu and look for the most appropriate function, but really what I would like to type now is just the keyword lookup. So immediately there is a lookup function, but that lookup function looks up a value either from one row or one column range from an array. So this seems like, it's doing too much. I just want to be able to look up through a column. So if it seems like I'm gonna need far too many if statements, and because if the product code is R99, it's going to be a refrigerator. If it's W99, it's going to be a washing machine, and so on and so forth. And it's so complicated. But now this one is exactly the special function that I want to use. So when in doubt, again, click around the different functions. VLOOKUP looks exactly for a value in the leftmost column of a table, and then returns a value from the same row from the column that I wanted to return a value. So let's get the dialog box for this lookup function. As you can see, this lookup function has multiple arguments, and 3 of the arguments are I am obliged to fill in. I absolutely have to, because if I don't, I will not be able to make my mechanical eyes work. So the first argument, and as you can see, the dialog box is guiding me. The first argument is the value to be found in the first column of the table. So the first argument is the value that the mechanical eyes are going to pick from the invoice. In this case, it's going to be A11. And then they're going to go to the product database and look for this item code and find the corresponding description of the item. So going now to the product database, as you can see, I went to the second argument because I have to fill in where am I going to look for my item code. So the item code will reside for the very first row in the cell A11, and the item code database is the whole table that I've got in the product database from A1 up to D7. So I am going to look all the item codes that are on the very first column to find the special item code that I have inserted in cell A11, and then I am going to correspond this to the description. So the column index number that I'm going to need to insert in the third argument is going to be, let's go and look, it's going to be, well, the first column has the item codes, the second column has descriptions, the third has prices, and the fourth has in stock. So, and as you can see, whenever I click on the spreadsheet, I get the name of the spreadsheet in my argument, which is something I don't want. So I'm going to delete this. And now I'm going to insert a number. This is a column number. Do not forget. So I'm going to insert column number 2 for the second column that actually gives me the description of the product, which is what I want to have in my description column. And as you can see, clicking around worksheets again gets weird things in my dialog box, which I have to delete. So I've got now the lookup value, which is A11, which is the item code that my customer has purchased, the first one. The second one is going to be at A12, the third one is going to be at A13, and you can imagine where I'm getting at, some autofilling stuff. The next part is the product database, and the product database is the range from A1 until T7. The third argument is the index number that has my database description. So again, I clicked on the worksheet and I got this additional name, the name of the worksheet. It's okay, and I'm actually doing this on purpose so that you understand that when you click around the worksheet, indeed, and you are in a dialog box of your functions, indeed, you get these different names in your function dialogs, and you need to be able to understand that these are not needed and delete these different names of the worksheets. Finally, this fourth argument, and as you can see, the letters of the fourth argument are not bold, so it's optional, but I'm going to be using this to be sure that I'm doing the right thing. The fourth argument says, do you have a range lookup? So when you're looking up for products in the product database worksheet in the range A1 up to D7, are you looking for a range from W to D, from 10 to 12, or are you looking for specific values, specific item codes in that first column? And I'm going to say false. I am not looking for a range of values. I am looking for specific codes. A11 has got to be a specific code. Now, obviously, the description is not applicable because I haven't pasted an item code yet. But let's say I'm pasting an item code to my Dr. X's invoice here, and I should be getting a value which will reflect the product that I wanted to, that I was looking for, its description. So now let's look what might be going wrong here. So I still have a non-applicable item, and I'm wondering what could be going wrong. Well, let's look at our product database. We've got this nice argument, and we've got this here. So now it validated that it's correct. Okay, so overall we just used our very first VLOOKUP to look up for a specific item code in a product database, and this item code was corresponded by the mechanical eyes of VLOOKUP to a plasma TV 50 inches. So now, if I want, I can autofill all of these very nice column with my VLOOKUP, and I can add some different codes in my invoice, and I can get the different descriptions that I want. Now here is something that I will show you next time in the next video, because this is a lot to digest, and I'm sure that you'll need to pause or stop and look again. So I'm gonna delete all of these or just undo. So here's the deal with this, okay? When I start autofilling, I am in trouble, and I want you to think why I am in trouble when I use the autofill. So I can see that my lookup value A11 changes to A12, which is perfect because this is exactly the item code that I want to be looking for with my VLOOKUP. But I also have the range of my very nice range of values from the product database changing. So this is really messy. Okay, this is really messy, and I don't want this to be happening. As you can see here, again, I get the corresponding item code that I wanted to get, but I also get a very weird change in my range in my database. My database should remain glued. It should be an absolute reference. And this is not what is happening here. My database, my product database range is shifting as I'm autofilling. My product database is shifting. And that is not good. So as you can see, of course, right now I am validating these different values, and as you can see, the product database should not be what it looks like. So what I've got to do is rethink about the autofill, rethink the way I do things with my database, and also consider whether I need to use an absolute value or maybe a different trick. But all of these things are going to come and happen on the next video. Okay, this was a long video, so I would suggest to watch it again, ask any questions you may have, and we'll be back soon.